can the Steam machine become your sole device for content creation, which means you're gaming, you're streaming, you're recording, and of course, all of that into one machine? Will it be powerful enough to play at the resolution 2560 by 1440p really, and record and stream simultaneously without taking a big hit to performance on your computer? I've been using it for about 2 weeks now, and the performance has been pretty good. Will it perform well while gaming and also recording and content creation? Spoiler alert, I'm already creating the content right now on my Steam machine on my desktop with this mono PD100W microphone in your face, and most of it has been plug and play. Yes. Let's look at what we got set up here and do a little bit of a gaming performance test while we're recording, just to see how well the Steam machine can be for you content creators out there. Will you replace your PC with it? I don't know. And before we get started, be sure you like, subscribe if this is your kind of stuff. You like to see technology, Steam machine, gaming computer, gaming devices, content creation tools like such, which this can be a content creation tool. Let's get started. Shut up. What? So just for starters, I have connected a iPhone 17 Pro, which you're looking at right here for the visuals, via a capture card, which goes into the front of the Steam machine because that is the 3.2 Gen 1 port, which is pretty fast. And as you can see, I'm recording in 4K 60, which looks pretty fantastic in my eyes, although I'm actually outputting to 1080p 60 just for this video, but it can take 4K 60 recording, but it just becomes a bigger file size. That's all. You can install an external NVMe with an NVMe enclosure and plug it to the back of your Steam machine into the USB-C port, because that is your 3.2 Gen 2, your 10 gigabit port. And that's going to get you the fastest IO for USB on this device. You can go through the front too. It's pretty fast, 5 gigabits, but 10 gigabits, why not? What else are you going to connect it that you need to be so fast like that? If I needed more ports, I would probably connect a USB hub to the back 2.0 port for just peripheral devices like a keyboard and a mouse if I needed a couple of more USB ports. But just be sure not to get a huge USB hub with 10 or 15 ports where you're connecting too many devices and overload that port, or you just don't get the power that you need for your devices, because one port is not going to power that many devices. And as you can see here, I'm already on my Linux desktop performance monitor. And right now, with just recording with my in 4K with my iPhone 17 Pro Max, and you'll see I'm utilizing a 16 to 18% CPU utilization. So interested to see what happens when I launch a pretty, I guess, robust game and see how that manages it. My GPU, of course, is pretty low because I'm just using my 4K camera here, and memory, you get 16 gigs. I've been using a custom PC with 16 gigs of memory. Works just fine for just any game, really, as long as you have a beefy graphics card. I don't expect to see bad performance here while gaming and recording for my content, right? As far as the Steam machine performance in general while gaming, it's surpassed my expectations. Just so that you know, I didn't expect it at all to do 4K. It does 4K. Certain games is 4K 60, yes. A little bit of compromise depending on the game title, but overall, older games play fantastic at 4K 60. Don't get it misconstrued. Some of the older Resident Evil games, I bumped that up to Ultra 4K 60, you name it, all the highest presets, and it runs it at 4K 60. No problem. Once I start getting to the more modern titles, 2560 by 1440p is my way to go. It's a 2560 by 1440 machine. Yes, 4K, older games, emulation, that sort of stuff. This can definitely play older titles, 2010, 2013, 14, 15, around that age, 4K 60. Any other smaller titles, indie games, 4K 60 Ultra. Yep, Steam machine does that. Once you start getting into Resident Evil 4 Remastered and the new Resident Evil 9, yes, you better drop that down to 2560 by 1440p. Maybe your settings could be at medium or maybe even high to get 60 frames per second. So it can perform in that range. Turn on your FSR, you're gonna see some nice frames with your AAA titles. at 2560 1440p. Fantastic. Okay, enough of that. Let's get gaming and see how this performs while gaming and recording simultaneously to see my performance and if I take a hit in terms of frame rates. All right, so here we are with a pretty graphically intense game, Kenya, however you want to pronounce that, Bridge of Spirits. I quite enjoyed this. There is another part coming out soon, I think part 2. So the max I can do on this machine is 2560 by 1080p, 144 hertz. Looks fantastic. Let's go ultra. Why the hell not? I don't presume we're going to get ultra performance, but let's see. I'm getting a nice 85 FPS. .98 FPS, so not bad for a beautiful game like this. What else we got going on here? Oh, def. So yeah, not bad. This is actually doable, simultaneously recording and playing a video game at pretty good resolution, pretty good detail as far as like settings, right? Nothing to complain about right now. And if the recording comes out good at this frame rate, I think the Steam machine is quite viable for content creation, gaming content creation. If you're just doing podcasting or something like that, this is an overkill. You don't even need this much power just for that. But yeah, I don't really see too much heavy frame drops depending where I'm at. Anywhere between 180 FPS, you're gonna get very smooth smoothness in your eyes. All right, so here we are, Resident Evil 4, testing this out. I'm gonna try to push this thing a little bit. Let's take a look at what we can get out of this while we're recording and all that good stuff. 2560 by 1080, 144 hertz. So I'll just leave it at 120, I guess. Window mode, let's do full screen. FSR, we're gonna turn up FSR 2, right? We're gonna keep it as such just to see what it looks like with FSR off. And I have it at some pretty high settings here, so we're gonna see what this plays like. Resident Evil 4 while recording via OBS. Cool. Is this his rooster that's pecking me? You. I know you weren't just pecking me, bro. Damn, I was overkill. Shotgun to the chicken's back. The performance here is looking wow. Look, and you can see the hair strands. You see I have like a lot of the most of all the details with some high fidelity here with Resident Evil 4 on the Steam machine while I'm recording via OBS and streaming with a capture card, right? Going through the machine as well. So it's capturing my 4K 60 webcam there. And for all intents and purposes, this is playing pretty smooth. It looks beautiful here. 60 FPS. Here we are with a little bit of Lego Batman and with a little bit of adjustments of the graphic settings, a little bit of FSR frame gen. We can get some good performance on this. As you can see, I got about 100 FPS here, 105 or so. There's my Batmobile.
I know where that is. Let's go. Let's roll.
This looks decent right here with the Steam machine in a very dense city by Lego Batman. Don't be misconstrued. This game is pretty demanding. So yeah, a lot of detail and polygons in this game. What? So the last piece for the Steam machine to qualify as a all-in-one content creator tool is, I think, if you can actually do some decent enough video editing on the platform itself in order for it to be just like an all-in-one and get rid of every other device and just use it for your gaming, streaming, content creation, and video editing. Big asterisks right there. Let's talk just a little bit about that. So for one, When it comes to video editing softwares, applications, platforms, there aren't that many that are compatible because of the nature of the way it's designed and built on a hardware level, with it having the CPU and GPU kind of combined. A lot of these softwares and applications, for one, don't really recognize the GPU outright or directly. For my editing platform of choice, I use DaVinci Resolve, and that basically, just the way it is out of box, is not compatible. Upon launching it, you get this pop-up right here you see in your face, and that basically is telling you that it cannot find or is compatible with the GPU that the Steam machine is currently running, right? The hardware itself. So I went into settings and tinkering and fought with it for about like a half an hour. It just does not work. On top of that, this is not really a big, basically a development workstation of that caliber, especially when you start editing in log, 4K 60, that sort of thing. Then you're going to see some bottlenecking happening there because, well, when you use a platform like DaVinci, if you can get it to work, or if you go with the choice that I think that is the most, or the best one to go with, which is Kdenlive. It's a free open source full video editing platform, fully optimized for Linux and works fantastic with SteamOS. That's the route you're going to have to go if you want to become a content creator fully on the Steam machine alone. However, you are going to encounter limitations because, well, it is open source, it is free, so you might miss out on a lot of the additional features and functions that some of these more professional video editing platforms have or support. But what I will say is that if you are a YouTube content creator and you're just doing your basic headshots like this, some B-roll, and you're editing even in 4K 30, 4K 60, you can, in fact, work very nicely with Kdenlive. Now, the biggest con with that is that it will be, in fact, CPU dependent when it comes to rendering. Yes, rendering not just on your playback on your timeline, but also really rendering for your export. Yep. So when you export, it's gonna basically use just about all of the CPU. 70 to 80% of the CPU gets jacked up on your Steam machine to render it out, your final footage. And, well, I don't know how much more stuff you can actually do while it's rendering, right? You're not gonna try to game while it's rendering, obviously not. Not only that, but it also takes more time to complete the render, maybe 50 to 40% time increase on your renders, depending on how many layers you got, how many effects, color corrections, that sort of stuff. So it can increase the time. But those two things are the two major cons when using Kdenlive. Otherwise, it's a fully fleshed out video editing platform. And if I were on Linux, fully Linux, a full Linux head, which you never know, a lot of us will be that in the future, that right now is a really super viable way to go. Now, would I recommend it if you're already on a platform, if you're on Windows or Mac and you're editing there and you're used to that and you're using Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, expensive Ars, Adobe applications, Premiere Pro, or what's the other one? Any one of those, anything Adobe is just overpriced. Anyway, that's another story. Don't move from there. Stick with what you're editing with, and you can come to your Steam machine, play your games, and capture card the gameplay from that to another device, or even record on it locally. It works fine. You don't really suffer too much in terms of when you're recording locally with OBS and when you're gaming. So not too much of a big hit, but if you want all of the juice, which I think you probably should do, capture card that to another device and capture the gameplay and all the audio on your Steam machine. Remotely, so that way you get the best performance, best frame rate. You don't want anything drop as you're playing or even when you're capturing. You want everything to look nice and smooth, and that probably would be the best thing. That's all I have for you, Tech and Gamers. That's my advice to you. Steam machine, keep it as a gaming machine. Probably not the best idea to go as a content creation device. Not because of the software, not because of Kdenlive, because a lot of people actually use that and they use Linux and it works good. It's because of the hit you'll take in terms of rendering, exporting, and relying solely on your CPU. Not the fastest, not the best, and it will wear and tear on your machine over time. So preserve it for gaming, keep editing on your Windows desktop, your Mac desktop. All right, so I got for you. If you found any value, be sure to like, subscribe for more content like this, content creation gear, gaming gear, like things like the SteamOS, Steam Machine, handheld, mobile gaming, content creation gear like microphones like I'm using right now, mixers. I kind of like have a wide variety. Let me know in the comments if you think I should probably double down on something more specific. I just love a lot of everything that goes into the content creation and gaming tech stuff, the gaming tech space. So if you think by vote of hands, just raise your hand and say, go with microphones and interfaces and audio gear, put it in the comments, or keep doing what you're doing with all the gear, with gaming gear and audio gear. Let me know in the comments, because I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. I'm not sure if I want to keep going in both directions. They're both vast, I guess, fields to kind of like delve into, and they kind of overlap in a lot of ways, right? Because if you're gaming and creating content, gaming content creation, you're going to use microphones, you're going to use mixers, you're going to use computers. So, and if you're just gaming and you're talking about Steam machines and SteamOSs and stuff like that, you may be using microphones. I don't know. You may be using interfaces if you're talking about that kind of hardware on a channel or any content creation you might be doing. So I don't know. I'm confused right now. What? Help me out. Let me know in the comments. Talk to you later. What? Bye.